Romance Book Monsters. It's your girl Lollipop here with Kitty Boo.
Hello, how is everyone today?
I know, I'm so happy that the weather is so nice. It's a balmy 70 something degrees here in the cold Midwest. Very
And
excited.
it's the same here in the South.
I know that's right. I am ready. I am ready to put jackets away. I don't know about you, but ooh, child. Windows are open, fresh breeze is flowing. It's great. So today we are going to talk about shifters because we love them, but we are going to specifically focus on non-wolf shifters because let's just be real, wolf shifter books dominate the market. But there are so many other great shifter books out there with very unique backstories.
Yeah.
I know Kitty sent me one the other day. What was it, yesterday? And it was an elephant shifter. And I'm like, hello, nurse. I have read ones in the past with bunny shifters, deer shifters, alligator shifters. I love it.
Reindeers.
Yes. Different types of bird shifters. I love it. Love it so much. In one of these books that I'm going to talk about today, there's even a kid who's a snake shifter. And yes, she will bite you.
Interesting.
Yes, she is. So I'm going to kick it off today with my first book, which is called Missy the Werecat by P.G. Allison. And this is a young adult series. There's 8 books out. The 9th one is due out this summer. Very excited about that. And there's even 2 spin-off books with her best friend who is a witch. And that there's the 2 of those are actually pretty good as well. Because, hey, her best friend ends up with her brother. So it works out great. It's awesome. Don't you just love it when that happens? So Missy is a unique kind of shifter because if you want to think about it from a gene standpoint, she's a recessive gene shifter. Nobody in her family has ever even heard of. Shifters is not out in this world. No one in her family is shifters. So when she was away at soccer camp, she started going through puberty and shifted. And so she could not figure out how to shift back to human. So I think it was like 2 or 3 years later, 2 years later, it took her 2 years to figure out how to shift back to human. And by this point, she had went from New Hampshire down to like Virginia because, hey, she's a cat, you follow in the mountains. She shifted into a werecat, commonly looked like a mountain lion or bobcat kind of cat. And so she finally shifts back. And when she does, she ends up saving the friends of a senator. But she gets injured in the process. So that's how she ends up in the hospital. And when she does come to, she ends up being reunited with her family. So then she comes back. Now she has missed 2 years of school at this time, or 2 years of schooling. So she did, because she's a smart kid, very smart, obviously, because, she's a shifter. She's amazing at everything she does. She ends up doing homeschooling and doing 2 years in 1 year to make up back. She does 2 years in 1 year and then is caught up to go to high school with everyone else, basically. So she just ends up finishing all her middle school years. So I think she did. Yeah. So it's like 2 years each for 2 years to catch up. It was really crazy. And so now she also discovered that she needs a lot of physical activity. So she ends up working out at the gym, pumping a lot of iron. She does, she picks up kickboxing, but then she's too strong and the other kid, nobody wants to kickbox with her. So then she convinces the local MMA gym to let her join. She's the only female and she's like 16. So it's like their effort. The only reason they let her join is because her dad's a lawyer. So they ended up signing a bunch of disclosures to make sure that if she gets hurt, it doesn't count for anything. So obviously, as most shifters are, she heals very, very quickly. So she doesn't have any issues with that. And she becomes a martial arts fighter, loves it. It's what she needs. She's fighting grown men. She's actually being challenged. So she's very active. The cool thing is they end up convincing her to do a competition. So she ends up doing one professional MMA women's competition, and she's amazing and gorgeous and fly. And, she's always super covered up. So it was the only time she's in these itty bitty little shorts and an itty bitty little sports bra. So you got to see her scars from when she was a mountain lion. One time she tussled with a bear. So she has a huge bear claw scar across one shoulder. And then she has a shotgun scar from where she was shot at by a hunter while she was still in form. So you can imagine how this looked. She was able to lose almost all her body fat during the process of preparing for this event. So it was like all rippled muscle and these scars be glistening. And she was all in the shiny, 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 shiny body oil. So I could just imagine in my mind how amazing the pictures looked from everything. And then of course, they had they had to show off that they had a girl who won. And so her pictures like everywhere. She had to like convince like the other people not to put it up because they were ready to put it up all over the place. Because everybody was like, yeah, we got one person who went to our gym and one person who was in our MMA studio, the kickboxing place. She was like, nah, you're going too far. I don't need my basically bikini picture all over the town. Although, as we know, as they mention in the book, recordings from the event, from the fights, as well as pictures was all up in people's what do they call them, lockers at school. Like they had pictures of them in their lockers and stuff. And then people were like, ooh, whatever. So, but it was pretty cool. But anyway, so lots happened. Trigger warning for this one. There's some child sexual abuse. She does save a friend from a pretty bad situation with a stepfather. And he get his good. And I was very happy about it. It couldn't be any better how good he get it. Let's just be real. Like it's perfect. And at the end, I mean, obviously, it's a young adult book. So she meets her boyfriend. He had been watching her at the gym and he finally asked her out for ice cream. And eventually they developed, a little bit of a friendship. And then they started dating and stuff like that. And then she drops the bomb. I want to go to West Point. So just like her grandfather. So she is off to West Point in book 2. So what's your first book, Kitty?
My first book is Smiley by Laurann Dohner. It's a part of her Species series, which I love. So the background for the Species series is that, there were like these labs like all across like the United States and in like some other countries. And they were being funded by these rich people, and they were basically like having babies and splicing them with like all types of like animal DNA, anything from wolf DNA to even some domestic animals like dogs, like small canines and monkeys and whatnot. And they were trying to train them to basically be assassins, these like little young children to be assassins. And it came out to the world that this was happening. So they started shutting down all the labs that they could find and like arresting the people who were over it and putting it in jail. And even though like we're in book 13, like there are still like some labs that they still have not found yet. Because like some are like still in hiding with like other species, still trying to do their research, still trying to make money off of these human beings that they've altered their DNA. So they can't fully shift into their animal DNA. It's more like some of them can get the additional height, or some of them have like the features of the animal that they've been spliced with, and they have claws or fangs and like the extra human strength and just the characteristics of those animals, like maybe they're stealth or they're very agile or good hand-eye coordination or whatnot. And so not only that, they've also managed to create like drugs, that like healing drugs that they've been testing on them to like perfect them for humans, to give to humans. So one of the drugs that they made is like a mating drug that it's like the ultimate date rape drug. Like they can't smell it. They really don't remember much like after it. And in the beginning trials, like it was causing like a lot of pain, but they figured out how to give it to humans now. So Vanny, the female character in the book, her boyfriend, her fiance's father is a pastor of a church that is very anti-species.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, how can you be anti-species when like they didn't choose to be that way? Like people did this to them deliberately, and now they're trying to just have normal lives. Oh, and I failed to mention, like, once they were all freed, the government like gave them like two very like huge pieces of land to live in, and they were almost like, you can compare it to like a reservation. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were given like a lot of funding in order to establish these places and provide for themselves until they could figure out how to make money on their own, which they did. Like they started like security companies and like other things to start making their own money so they could be autonomous and they could be, just in charge of themselves. They're kind of like their own law unto themselves. They're outside of the US's law. So that was really interesting. So Smiley, he is a primate, and him and Vanny, they meet in a bar. And as I was saying, Vanny, her fiance's father is like over a church that like is very anti-species. And so they are having like this rally to like speak out against them. And she's had a fight with the fiance, so she's down in the bar, and the bartender slips her this drug, and he slips Smiley this drug, and so they both start reacting very quickly to it. Like it's very like intense arousal and pain, and like the only way to stop like really uncomfortable symptoms is to have sex. So they end up like taking Smiley and her out of the restaurant, and they're like transporting them somewhere else. They're trying to get her to a hospital, but like she's so uncomfortable, like in so much pain, like her and Smiley, they really just have to like have sex in the car. So that's kind of the beginning of them. And in the beginning, like they think at first that she drugged him and drugged herself, but then they find out that she didn't know anything about it. There was actually supposed to be another woman that the church had paid that was supposed to come into the bar and be drugged. But the bartender, he drugged the wrong woman, basically. I know, right? And so, like, the church is trying to get her to say now that Smiley drugged her on purpose, so they can like start this negative narrative
Mm-hmm.
around species to get like the public opinion to turn against them, because right now the public is very like in favor of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so she refuses. So they try to kidnap her, they try to harm her. So she eventually finds like sanctuary with the species on their land. And that kind of begins like the love story of her and Smiley. They're so cute together. And species, they have this kind of like their own like very like proper way of speaking that's always just like very cute, and they refer to women as like female, and even that sounds interesting in the book.
Yeah, not in real
Again,
life. You call me a female, we fighting.
right, again, it's one of those things that it works in a romance book, but in real life not so much. So they get together, and unbeknownst to like the outside world, they think that once the species like die, that's it. They don't know yet that they can actually reproduce
Mm-hmm.
with humans.
Right.
So like towards the end, they're getting ready to have their baby, which is so cute. But yeah, it's a really good series. It's a really good book, like overall. And you just see like the church is like still continuously like trying to get her back. And the the fiance is like a ridiculous, like, douchebag. And of course, like the dad is like making all this money off of this group of crazies. And they have like a private jet and all that type of stuff. So they end up getting like the dad and the son, and well, I'll let you read what happens to them, but you
Well,
know, they get what they deserve.
I know that's right. I actually love the
So,
Species series. It's been a
yeah,
while since I've read one though. I need to.
I know, right? You know, I kind of got a little upset with Laura and Donna. You know how I get. I was waiting on one of the Species books. She had a character that she would like sprinkle little information about him between a few books, and then it's like all of a sudden, like I don't know, it seems like she's given up on his story, and we're never ever gonna get it. So
I mean, maybe it didn't come to her yet. You know how authors are. Sometimes it's hard to write about specific characters. Like you
that's
plan
true.
and your plans don't work to fruition. It's any art, I call it. It's an art form because I certainly can't do it. I can
I
barely
know,
write an email, so let alone a book.
right? So we'll probably never get Flame's story, but you know,
He might show
Smiley was
up.
one of my favorite books. You know, he was primate. I love when he was like, no, I'm primate. So he has like monkey features. So I thought that was cute. So, but the story overall is like it's a really good book. The series is really good. Like the first like 13 books or so, I think they're on like book 15 now, maybe. But I was like pleased with every last one of them. So
Mhm.
it's definitely like a
I would
good
agree.
series to follow.
Definitely worth the time and money investment for sure.
Mhm.
So my second book is Kitty Cat by May Sage. Now this particular shifter book is a little crazy. So first, she is a cat shifter, but she's very, very unique because her dad, in his shifted form, got a full cat pregnant. So so he didn't know at the time, of course, because he got a little frisky when he was in cat form. And he happens to find her after her mother died. So her mother was dead and she was there mourning at the corpse of the mother. And he happened to come across her and realize this is not something animals normally do. And so he realized, not into that extent. She
How
was
old was she?
literally, she was in cat form.
How old was she? Like in
Um, maybe two,
okay,
1 or 2, but because she had been, she was born from a full cat and in cat form, um, she had matured at the speed of a cat. So she was, so by the time he found her and she figured out how to transform, she was like the body of a 10-year-old
okay,
ish. She was like 8, 10 by that point. Even though if she hadn't been alive that long, 8, 10 years, but because of the fact of the cat. So she is closer to her animal than anyone ever because she's literally half
right,
animal, not even shifter. She's half animal, half shifter. So anyway, so she is incredibly strong, and they hid her identity. So no one knows that the father's first child is even female. So that they were able to hide her identity, but everybody knew that that particular shifter is super strong because the dad is basically known as crazy. He's crazy.
right. I mean, he's out having sex with real cats.
I mean, he was in cat form. He was a little frisky. What can I say? But so anyway, she also has a younger brother who's a full shifter because his mama wasn't a real life cat. So that's not the problem. So she's living her life. She owns, obviously, she has her particular tendencies. So when she shifts, she's not this big animal. She's a smaller cat, but she is deadly. So anyway, she needed a lot of property. So she was able to purchase this property from the town mayor because he had built this gorgeous house on this beautiful piece of property for his daughter for when she got married. And then the daughter was like, I'm not staying in that town. So when the daughter got married, she skedaddled with the husband to the city. They don't want to stay in a little town. So she was able to pick up that property for a good price. So she
Man,
had
if
this
you
big
give me
property.
a gorgeous, gorgeous house on a lot of properties
Mhm,
on Amazon delivered to my door,
mhm.
I'd be good.
And beautiful porch. You know how you like your porches and stuff like
Yes.
that, all of that, because it's a southern house. It's a southern house. So anyway, the thing I love about her too is like she will kill you, but she's also a baker. So she owns the bakery in town, which is super cute. And so her brother brings his pack there because they were running from another pack who's trying to kill a child that they've taken in. So their pack takes in orphan children, shifter children. And so this particular child was a hybrid, and the pack that was after them, well, after them wanted to kill the child because she was an abomination for being a hybrid, because there were no hybrid, like hybrid shifters mixed with more than one shifter at this time, because the parents happened to have been like true mates. But there hasn't been a case of hybrids before, and they were, I think, if I recall, the child also could do premonitions as well. So
Okay.
she could somewhat tell the future. And so the brother shows up. Now, they don't know that it is the sibling that's shrouded in mystery. But so he shows up, he begs her to let them stay on the property because there's also a second house. So it's not like they need to be in her space per se. But the pack is big enough that some of them would be in her space. Anyway, so she falls for her, and the alpha of the pack obviously fall for each other. It's great. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. The thing I love about this book is, number one, the personality of the main character. Like, I love her. She is hysterical, and she will, just like a regular cat, she will slice you across the face. You like she does not play. She is not up for tomfoolery, and she is quick to let her instincts take over. But she's also super sweet. Outside of being a baker, she's super sweet there too, but she's super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Once she finds out about the kids, obviously she lets them stay. The rapport between her and her brother is hysterical a little bit. But also, as the older sister, she puts him in his place quite frequently. When they find out that, they were like, because it comes out kind of like the brother used to always take vacation, but he never tell anybody where he was going. Well, he was going to visit his sister, but he didn't, because again, her life was kind of shrouded in secret, so nobody really knew. And then when the alpha found out, so this is where you've been sneaking off to all these years and stuff like that, because they always thought that he just went off to whore. That's not what he's doing. He's visiting his sister. But yeah, so this book has war, love, betrayal, light comedy, sibling banter, cute shifter kids. This is where, one of the kids was a snake shifter. So I definitely recommend this book. They even took in one kid who wasn't a shifter at all. She was a witch.
Who was the author again?
The author is May Sage.
Okay, because it makes me think of this Suzanne Wright book like so much that I was like, wait a minute, have I read that book before? No, I
I
have
feel
not.
you have
But
read
I
Kit
will.
Kat. I feel
I
like you
have.
have read Kit Kat. It's been years. This is a whole line.
Whatever it is, I will be reading it today because it sounds
I do believe it's on Kindle Unlimited, but don't quote
okay.
me. Because it's a whole line. Because obviously more of the people in the pack get stories as well.
Right.
And the
Okay.
kids get older. And even one of the books involves one of the men from the enemy pack who had been trying to protect, because the child is the child of his sister. So he had been trying to cover their tracks, but he couldn't. So he ends up joining their pack, and he gets a story as well, which is really cute.
Okay. I look forward to checking this one out.
And the main couple have a baby.
Oh, Again, another thing, a difference between, real life and romance novels. Those romance novels, once they fall in love, you be looking for your baby. Be like, when you gonna knock her up? And you be like, yay, she's pregnant.
Exactly. But the thing, so, and I don't mind saying this, it's not like a huge plot point that destroys anything, but their kid is special. Special in the fact that if he scratches you with his teeth, you will become a shifter.
Hmm.
Now, nobody else can create shifters like that. Not in this world,
But
except for
he's
the
just
kid.
like the bestower.
Hmm. Basically, yeah, because he accidentally does it. That's how they found out.
You're like, let me make myself a little friend.
No, it was an accident because he's a baby. What do babies do? They gum everything. When they get that
Right.
first teeth, they
Oh
gum it
boy.
even more. So, but yeah, so it's also great, and it's really cute too because she also has a college student that works in her bakery, so that college student gets a story as well. So it's a lot of cuteness going on. A little bit of
Okay.
betrayal hurt them, but I'll leave that to you guys to discover for sure.
And me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Exactly.
call you if it's not as little as you say.
It doesn't. I mean, no, it's not.
I mean, as long as the couple stays together, I
No,
don't care.
no, no, no. They never left each other because like he lived there. like, like what he do? Move to the house, the next house on the property? Like where he
Okay.
going?
Because yeah, I do harass you about how other people's books end up, and you didn't tell me.
Even if they separated, he in the other house. They separate. I don't remember them separating, but if they did, where he going to the other house on the land?
Okay, that's good. It makes me think of that time we were roommates and we were reading the same book and you had finished yours. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm reading this couple, they broke up. And I was like, I should go wake her up right now to see why she did not tell me.
What were you doing up at 3 reading the book in the first place?
I don't know. It was really good until I got to that part.
But then you read past it.
Then I read past it. And, of course, I told myself she will probably kill me if I come knocking at her door talking about why didn't she tell me about what happened in this book.
Because if I had to be at work the next morning, it would have been a fight. But anyway, what's your last book, Kitty?
And my last book is Fox and the Croc. No, Croc and the Fox by Eve Glaze. And this book, yes, this book is like, it's hilarious. There are just so many moments of like humor throughout the book. So just like the species, well, not exactly like the species book. So this book features furry coalition. So Victor, the hero in the book, he is an agent for the furry coalition, which is like the shifter police, and they are in charge of making sure everything is in order with the shifters and that they're protected and that humans don't find out about them. So they figure out that there is some type of lab that has been running, and it's ran by a shifter, shockingly enough, and they are experimenting on them, trying to make the shifters stronger than they are. But in the midst of all this research, they've basically been killing all the shifters
Mm-hmm.
as they try to make them stronger. But one girl, her name is actually Project with a series of numbers behind her name because she has been there so long since she was a child. She doesn't remember anything before being like kidnapped and being put in a lab, but she is like resistant to any of the experiments that they have been doing to her. She makes it through it all. She doesn't even remember shifting, so she doesn't even know that she is a fox shifter because she never remembers shifting because she
Mm-hmm.
loses her memory when she does so. So when they go in and rescue everybody, I mean, they have like messed these people up. Like some of the shifters are now like only plasma. That's how like much they've like experimented on them. So they go and they rescue her, and Victor rescues Project is her name, but it later becomes Renee. So he rescues Renee, he takes her outside, but she's so used to being like confined that she's like terrified of like open spaces. So the sky just terrifies her. So when she sees the sky, she runs back into the prison and she's like, nope, nope, no, I'll stay here. So he has to drag her out. And once they like go to headquarters and they're with his boss and like everybody is trying to comfort her and they're like, we're going to help you and give you a place to live and whatnot. And she refuses to leave Victor, but Victor is a very cantankerous crocodile. So he does not want to babysit this woman, but she refuses. But his boss is just like so cracked up that the girl won't leave him alone. That she's like, no, 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 you're in charge of her. So he has to take her and teach her the ways of the world and whatnot and get her dressed and give her a name. And also, they're trying to protect everybody from this mastermind who is in charge of the labs, not knowing that they already have them in custody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Twist.
right? So that's basically how they're trying to teach her how to. So throughout the book, they're trying to teach her how to shift, and they're starting to kind of like each other, and also they're on the lookout for this mastermind that is still like doing stuff behind the scenes that's causing them to like go into tizzies and go into hiding and all of that. And in the end, we finally figure out who the mastermind is, and it was a bit shocking and hilarious at the same time. And yeah, the reason why is because they were an unpowerful shifter. So that's why they were doing all the research on everybody else first to figure out how to make themselves more powerful.
Exactly.
But very hilarious story. It's also a part of a series. I think this is like the fourth book in the series.
Mm-hmm.
The first one with the bunny
Exactly, the bunny
is like
shifter.
yes, the bunny shifter is the saber tooth bunny.
Yes.
Hilarious. The first book, but the Croc and the Fox is my favorite in the series. But the very first book is really good too in the series.
I've read, oh man, I fell off that series. I might have to go back, because even though Eve is very prolific, she has so many different lines that sometimes
Yeah.
I forget about some of the other lines of hers that I've read that I'm reading, unless I get an email. Amazon likes to send me emails talking about Eve got a new book. I'm like, I don't read that line. She got a demon line that I love. I'm reading the lion shifter line. And I remember the Furry Coalition. I think the Furry Coalition was the first book I've ever read by her, the Bunny Shifter. That was my
Yeah,
very
because you loaned me the first book in the
Mhm.
series.
I know I had to share the wealth. I had to share the wealth because at the time she was still independent. So she
Right.
was still an independent, and we have to support our independent authors, especially
Mm-hmm.
when they're skilled. Like she's quite talented and quite prolific, I would say
She
too.
is, yeah.
And her books are so unique, which I love. Like I don't feel like it reminds me of something that I've already read.
Yes, and I love a romance author that can like inject comedy
Mm-hmm.
into their romance novel, but is not like a romantic comedy because I don't tend to like those very
Mm-hmm.
much. But it's just like a humorous romance novel.
Yes, yes, I agree. From that standpoint, she's right up there with Shelley Lawrenson for me because I
Hmm.
literally laugh out loud.
Excuse me. Excuse me
Bless
again.
you.
Thanks.
Well, that is all we had for today. So let us know in the comments, what is your favorite non-wolf shifter book? We're always interested to learn new authors and new shifter books because for a while there we were shifter light, I feel, especially from a new standpoint. It was hard to
Yeah.
find new shifter books because we are picky. We have such few good shifter authors that we tend to be a little bit picky. But also don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, ring that bell so that you can get all of the notifications for any of our new videos. Talk to you soon.
See you later.